I had my own origin story, it would probably start something like this.
A long time ago during a COD match, a much younger but equally as handsome Raiden said to his brother Devious XP, "Imagine if people actually used realistic communication in games like this," to which his brother replied, "Yeah, but that will never happen." It was at this moment Raiden knew that the soulless nature of COD was not for him, and he began his journey seeking a more realistic and authentic military simulation experience. A journey that would lead him to Battlefield 3.
So that's a true story. Battlefield was essentially my gateway into Milsim. I played 3 until 4 came out, and then soon after, found Arma 3 and never went back. I can count the amount of times I've played a AAA game since then on my fingers. Although Battlefield 4 in my eyes was a damn sight more tactical than COD, and the larger maps allowed for some use of brain power rather than just pure reflex speed, and I really enjoyed Battlefield at the time, it still felt like the same run, gun, die, repeat cycle that I grew tired of in COD, and I honestly believed I would never play another Battlefield game, especially after the last couple additions to the franchise. So when the hype started to build for the Battlefield 6 beta, I was somewhat of a hater. I turned my that kind of rhyme. I turned my nose up at the trailer, and my first response to seeing gameplay footage was literally the vomit emoji. But then Haplas slowly but surely convinced me to give it a try, and well, I have some thoughts. So, should Milsim gamers buy Battlefield 6? Let's find out. First things first, the game's visuals are nothing short of mind-blowing. As Haplas put it, it feels like you're playing a cutscene, except you're in a 64-player server. The environment design, the particles, the lighting, the slightly desaturated look with a gentle film grain makes you feel like you can damn near taste the dust and smoke. And this, combined with crisp and punchy sound design, especially with the War Tapes audio mode turned on, is probably the most impressive audio-visual experience I think I have ever had, bar none. And if you want to put that on steroids, turn off the HUD. Even the freaking menu sound effects are chef's kiss, and my fairly modest rig, an R5 5600 with a 3060 Ti, handled it like a dream, and in almost 20 hours of gameplay, I don't think I experienced as much as a single stutter. But this is the AAA experience, right? And the game has the price tag to match, so people are going to expect these things. I think the gameplay is going to be everyone's main concern, especially the movement, and to be honest, I don't think it's that bad. In fact, I would almost say it's fine the way it is. Yes, your character runs like a track star, but it doesn't feel outside the bounds of reality, and as far as all the slidey, skiddy, jumpy nonsense goes, I hardly seen any of it at all, and I only died once to a guy sliding, but it was entirely my fault. I had more than enough time to take him out, but was slow on the trigger, and this is coming from me, a guy who stopped playing arcade shooters because of this kind of stuff. If you haven't played the beta yet and you are a Milsim guy like me, you may have heard people saying that the gameplay is very COD-like, and it is, at least in the beta. It's chaotic, fast, and feels very run, gun, die, repeat, but this isn't because of the movement. This is because nearly every map on the beta was tiny, other than Ridge 13, which also felt chaotic because any space the map allowed was completely nullified by the fact that it is a sniper's paradise. Now, we've been told that there will be larger maps on release, and the studio just wanted to prove that they can do the high-octane side of things as well, which I'm calling total bullshit on. The reason we got nothing but tiny maps was because they had one chance to get this right, and it is much harder to nail the pacing and level design on a large map than a small one. So the safe option was to chuck 64 players in a bunch of shoebox maps, and they will no doubt have fun because the gunplay is extremely satisfying. And when they start to complain about how chaotic it is, just tell them, don't worry, the big maps are on their way. I think my theory is kind of proven by the fact that the only large map was kinda arse. Stunningly beautiful, but you barely had a moment to take it in between fatal headshots from a sniper. I imagine any major changes to maps are probably out of the question with release set for early October, so my guess is that we will probably see a decent nerf to snipers. As far as classes go, I won't go too deep because I'm kind of out of the loop, and I don't want to talk nonsense. I haven't played these type of games in a long time, and I'm more of a default Daniel than a battle Barbie. I will just chuck on the next thing I unlock. If I like it, I keep it. If I don't, I go back to the last thing. The only thing I will say is that every time I did decide to run something else, my thought process tended to go like this. Oh, I want to run an XYZ, but I'll probably have to sacrifice my XYZ. Oh, nope, I can run that too. I honestly felt like Inspector Gadget with the amount of stuff I was able to carry, and I feel like restricting this a bit could only be a good thing and maybe tone down some of the chaos. So should Milsim players buy Battlefield 6? Well, it depends. If you're only looking for extreme realism and you measure the game with the same yardstick you measure games like Arma with, then you're probably going to hate it. You are never going to get those crazy stories you walk away with in a game like Arma 3 or Reforger, where things unfold much more slowly, and when the payoff happens, it's generally very rewarding and memorable. This experience felt more like a wild night on the Booger Sugar where you wake up with no idea what happened, but damn was it fun. I had to have a complete mindset shift from seeking the most realistic experience possible and realizing that this is just a bit of fun. An easily accessible game where you can just jump in and be in the action within seconds. Friends can just join your party and not have to worry about the 30-minute long struggle to meet up on the battlefield. For example, Hapless and I got to play with one of my community staff members and good friends Lantern, who I hardly ever get to play with because he is in Ukraine and time zones and time restrictions make it hard. But in this case, he had a spare couple of hours and seen we were online, jumped in our party, and we were fighting side by side within minutes. Another interesting point is that I'm told that when community servers are available, they will be very customizable, and this could lead to a much more Milsim-like experience. Just turning the HUD off was a game changer for me. I will be honest, I only did it to get some sexy screenshots for a thumbnail, but ended up playing a bunch of matches without it because it felt so good. And I already knew the maps and objective locations, so that wasn't an issue. And once I locked back into PIDing via uniform rather than looking for orange enemy markers, I actually started to perform better without the HUD because I was using the tools available to me that I'm used to using rather than a million different HUD items flashing in my face like a damn casino. So yeah, I'll be buying Battlefield 6. It is actually set to release on my birthday, so babe, if you're watching this, wink wink nudge nudge, and I think Milsim players can get a ton of fun out of it as long as they don't judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree. I'm Raiden. If you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.